With the news on the block. Get down.
Let me clear my throat. Yeah. Oh, that's better. That's better. Somebody pass around the offering. Since I'm always preaching on tracks, you feel me? I'm out to get paid for it. Sermon of the day. You right where you supposed to be, baby. Informants informing, that information forming. Important you get a portion of fortune pouring. Confession, fortunately, blessings on now they snoring. You mellow, so focused on scoring. Got your underperforming. I never expect something, never assume nothing. Judging me for my past, but that's why I'm triumphant. I don't demand, I know where I stand like engineer hands. Watch how my life pans. That game plan, show out like a jotter, pop out like a cutter. Telling the kick rock, skipping the course, squares like hopscotch. This gonna be my mood to my beat drop. Putting my boogie shoes in my diddy boots, ain't no stop. I'ma make the rest of my life live. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life live. Gonna make the rest of my life the best of my life. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life live. I'ma make the rest of my life live. Gonna make the rest of my life the best of my life. Congratulations on the celebration. I know I'm dope without a need of a validation. No congratulations on no celebration. I know I'm dope without a need of a validation. Yeah. If having hope is dangerous, call me evil Knievel. You leading on the wrong side, living with pens and needles. So lethal, made Shane Black wanna write a sequel. Cause I snuggle my dream till it's seen as illegal. And I still probably will, cause I can never give up. I got my goals calling me, how could I never pick up? Either we make up or just break up. With a snake, kids get the rake up. Yeah, selfish, I'ma cake up if I don't shake me to wake up. Let my depression catapult me to succession. Shine a light on my imperfections like a projection. Every struggle and lesson, your issues ain't your oppression. Never got a question, they pushing me to progression like I'ma make the rest of my life live. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life live. Gonna make the rest of my life the best of my life. Yeah, I'ma make the rest of my life live. I'ma make the rest of my life live. Gonna make the rest of my life the best of my life. Congratulations on the celebration. I know I'm dope without a need of a validation. No congratulations on no celebration. I know I'm dope without a need of a validation. Yeah.
All right. Best life. We are going to make the best of our life. Like what? Yes, welcome. We are here going to make your life better tonight. Welcome to Bravo with Sheila. Let's chat. We are excited as usual. Always excited. We got these beautiful queens in the house, and I'm excited about this conversation. If this is your first time here and you're coming in, go ahead and hit that thumbs up, smash that button, and then subscribe. You can subscribe to. Listen, I'm almost at 300. I think I need like 7 more people to subscribe. And I'm trucking in these streets, in these YouTube streets. And listen, we want 500. Me and co-host want 500 by January. Now, if you want to do 1,000, you can come on in and do 1,000. But those of you know how we do it here. We keep it real. It's authentic. We're moving you from pain to power and from power to victory. We have the Bravettes in the house, and we have the Brave Bros. Or you could say the Brave Brothers, whatever you choose to say. But welcome. Welcome, ladies. Hello.
Good evening.
Hello. And you know who's here? The faithful Bravette is here. Ene is here.
Hey, Ene.
She said, hey, Dawn B. Yvette, Ene is a faithful. She is so faithful, right? I mean, she's there in the mornings with me on the SIM at the Kabod. She's there chatting and just listening to the reading of the prophetic word that I break down every morning. On the SIM broadcast, the Kabod word thirst. That's what it's about. It's about being thirsty for the word. So those of you who are listening to this and haven't been over there, you can truck on over there. And guess who we got in the house? Our official brave brother. Sir Hell Speaks. He is in the building.
Yes, sir.
He is here. He is saying hello to everyone. He is saying hello. He loves Dawn B. He's giving him all kind of claps and hugs and stuff like that. And so Ine is saying hello to Pastor Rosa and also to our sister Elaine. We are
Hello,
so,
Elaine.
yeah. It's that time tonight to get into something I think that's going to be a wonderful, wonderful thing to talk about. Another topic that is true to my heart and ingrained in my heart. And I just thought it would be great to chop it up, chop it up. I think that it's something that we could add some type of substance to it and give different views and perspectives about it. And so I think that's what we need to do. So before we do that, let's officially open up this show. And we are back. We are back. Come on in and hit that like button. We're going to jump into this. Like I said, I don't know what's going on with my cords, with my computer, but thank God for backup. So I am on this iPad tonight and I'm going to navigate through it. And I'm hoping that the sound is correct. The last time I was on the iPad, the chat said I was choppy, it was staticky. So if it's okay where our sound is good, can you guys put a 1 in the chat? And let's see, Sir Hale is greeting Elaine. He says, hi, at Elaine Edwards.
Hello, Sir Hale.
Yes. And he's also talking to the main bravette. Hey there, at Ine. So yeah, if I'm good, you guys put a 1 in the chat and we want to jump right into this conversation. So I hope you ladies are well today. How was your day?
Great.
Great. I like that word. Great. I like the great word.
Mine is
What
over. That's my word for the day.
Over. I see you got your S on your chest. All right now.
Uh-oh.
You came ready. And Pastor Rosa, how you doing? You're on mute.
Because Dawn and I are in the same space,
So one at a time.
You know.
I get it. Yep, mommy and
Wasn't
daughter.
a problem. But my day was good. It really was good. I've had a good day, me and the Lord today, and it was good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I want to talk about this topic. I want to get into this because I think it's important to chat about it and to see your views about it. One who loves you with your dirt. Wow, that's powerful. Yeah, that's deep right there. That's very, very powerful. Now, what does dirt mean to certain people, right? So it's an individual belief. I want to even call it a belief system in terms of what you believe a woman carries or a man carries in terms of what we call dirt. I love this African proverb because it's loaded where we could really dive into it and understand. And one who loves you with your dirt, meaning one who really loves you, does not love you in your dirt or love you for your dirt, but loves you with your dirt, with your dirt. So, in this particular description, it's describing, it represents a defect or deformity, or I want to say, you can just put in, attach words to it, your mistakes, your trip ups, standing on light, stepping on landmines and potholes and, sleeping with a bunch of folk and whatever your dirt may be, right? The great thing is that when we identify with where we've come through and what we've gone through, we identify and we actually accept our accountability and how we've traveled through this thing called life. Because a lot of times when women or people in general go through certain circumstances, it's not necessarily your fault. It can come via other people. It can come via choices that you thought wrong choices, or it can come where sometimes, in the lives of many women, I know that I've talked to many women and I've witnessed this, where men come and show their representative and you don't find out really who they are until down the line. Right. But then again, you have to take accountability for that too. Did you vet them long enough? Did you go too quick? Was you desperate? Were you lonely? What were you looking for? Sometimes we leave these relationships and leave situations, and it's something on our character, right? We said, dang, I wish I never would have did that. Oh my God, how did I find myself in that space? Right. And God forbid if it's public. Oh my. If it's public, then now you have to fight through the voices of people, the thoughts of people, right? But I always say that I'm powerless over what people think about me or what people say about me, right? It's none of my business what they think of me, right? Because the moment I try to pick up that type of pressure, then that I embrace stuff that causes a stronghold on me, right? So the accountability with us is to understand what we've done, where we are. But I also find that the younger generation has a less tolerance for grace. They have a less tolerance for grace. They have, whether it was via what they learned in their home, via learned behavior or environmental impact, like what we learned at home, the culture of our home, right? Because we know there are cultures and subcultures, and a lot of time that shapes us. And then we have our views, and it goes against the grain of what life brings. And so I understand that things have changed, but I want to know, to understand what you ladies feel about this, because to love a person, I think, is in spite of their shortcomings, right? But again, I'm finding today to be very, very different in terms of what a man, I'll say, thinks about a woman who has several children, who are by different men, who we could just fill in the blanks with that. There's circumstances and situations, yes, there are women who are very loose, but again, learn behavior and what a need is, not a want. We find ourselves needing men and going with this one and that one, and then find ourselves with kids and you didn't protect yourself. So this thing can open up to such a huge platter of reasoning of why someone will love you with your dirt or choose not to. Now, I know that there are women who have had several, say, 3 kids, and they're not married, but because of circumstances in their youth, right, they got trapped off. But now today's world says, well, you shouldn't even think about marrying her and her kids, because having 3 kids from 3 different men kind of says who she is. I don't believe that. It's individual specific stories that people find themselves in these places. Sir Hale, you are welcome to come up again if you want to. Just let me know, and we'll drop the link, because we love. He said, "Bring them on, right?" Because he be stirred up. He be stirring it up, Dawn. He be stirring it up. He stirs it up. Yes, he does. And so I want to know. Let's start with Pastor Rosa. I want you to kind of jump in and share a little bit about what we're talking about.
I I I I think I'm sorry. I think women are more tolerant and acceptable of men with their stuff, their dirt, than they are about
Mm,
women. Because I mean, I don't know how a woman gets dirty without the man, and the man without the woman, but somehow it's more acceptable. Somehow we tolerate their stuff. If
mm-hmm,
you marry a man that has children, my ex-husband had 3 children, 3 different mothers, you know, um, and I accepted those children, the ones that I did know. I accepted them as being his children, but
mm,
men are not so quick to accept that we had we were in other relationships, and both if both relationships to me were uncommitted, one night stands or whatever, oh, I met her, I said, and then one thing led to another. But when it comes to the woman, that being the woman's situation, even sometimes when you've been married and those children are common in that marriage, men are not that apt to jump to want to be involved with a woman that has a bunch of kids,
Mm-hmm.
and they start thinking about, oh, well, you were with this guy, but that's really biased, because for you to have 3 or 4 kids means you had to be with 3 or 4 women.
That's
But
true.
for me to have 3 kids or whatever, the guy looks at men look at us in a very negative, in a very negative way, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I love the way that our young people think. I was telling Dawn, just kind of a sidebar thing. The N word, they've taken that and made it about camaraderie, as opposed to making it some derogatory thing. So
Mm.
I like what you said, the way the young people think. They don't have tolerance for certain things that maybe our generation and older, had, you know. But I think it's a lot of prejudice there, a lot of ignorance, a lot of prejudice is there. Even if a woman was in, that was her business, if she
Oh,
was out
yeah.
there and that was her line of business, it was her career, whatever. A lot of women are out there, they're in college. We don't know the background. We don't know why they're there. A lot of women have gone to college. You have to, they're putting themselves through college. I mean, there's a better way, but that's the way that they chose to do it. But you have to sit down and you have to talk to people. You have to see where they're coming from, not just make this judgmental thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, that says a lot. You touched on a good point, because there was someone that I knew that was a stripper, but she was stripping so that she could pay her way through nursing school so that she could pursue her nursing career. But in doing that, it's paying a price of reputation, right? And someone thinking that all strippers are loose, that all strippers, it's a mindset that comes with the things that we choose to get to where we're trying to go. So, Elaine, let's talk a little bit. Share what your thoughts are about what we're talking about tonight.
So, it's interesting that we're kind of like heading in the direction of women sleeping with men and having multiple children and vice versa. But there are so many other things too that could add to this long list of,
Mm-hmm.
with my dirt.
Mm-hmm.
There could be so many other issues. You could have, psychiatric issues. You could have
Yep,
mental issues. You could have physical issues,
that's
um,
right.
especially as we get older. I remember a few years back being on a dating site, and one of the guys, he was older, so he listed, if you have any issues with walking, any issue, physical heart conditions, think about those things until you start to get older, because if you become a couple, you are saying that you're in it no matter what happens to either one of you. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
be the caretaker, you're going to be in their lives. And then instead of it looking like, oh, well, they're older, it does become sort of like a negative connotation, because
Mm-hmm.
nobody wants to make that type of commitment to someone
True.
who has physical or mental issues. So I think, as Pastor said, it's really on a situation and case by case, because if you really feel a connection with that person and you really, really love them, you see all the time all of these beautiful love stories. Someone gets sick and the other person takes care of them until they can't take care of them anymore. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that depends on the level of dirt you can handle and the level of dirt the other person is kind of putting out there that can't be helped. So
Right.
you either have to take it or leave it.
Yeah. That's good. And you're right. And that's why I said the dirt can go across the board. in terms of what someone thinks, the experience, whether it's health, whether it's, it's really something that people have to think about when they start a relationship. Men have to think about it, and women have to think about it, not just breeze through it through conversation. Because when you're talking with someone, what do you want? What are you looking for? Where are you headed? Right? And when you get past those steps and then you begin to share about the cup, from the cup of your life and some of the things that you've gone through, sometimes people will refrain from sharing specific things because they don't feel good about that situation.
Right.
They'll refrain from saying anything that they felt was a bad situation. And then again, down the line, it can look like you lied. You lied to me. You didn't even share with me that this happened. You didn't share. No, we were supposed to be bonding, and you should have not held back, because we've talked about everything. I know you guys have heard that before. We talked about everything. I mean, everything. And so those things, it's so many things that when we're trying to move forward in life, and I'm saying this because we all are a certain age, and sometimes people prematurely talk about things they haven't lived yet, right? Because they haven't experienced it yet. So they can't
Right.
speak to it, right? They can speak of where they are right now. They can speak about their principles, their belief system, their value system right now. And I can do that. I can go back 20 years, and there's some things that back then I would say, but right now, life didn't happen that way, right? I had to play the hand that I was dealt. And so, what do you think about this, co-host?
Um, well, I took a few notes here because this has been really good. The first thing I want to share is you said something in the intro when you were talking about that topic about do you love me with my dirt, and made the reference of not in my dirt and not for my dirt, but in my dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And that just made me think of we need to think about the things that connect us. Some people will connect you for your dirt because their dirt is similar to yours. So,
Mm.
they connected because, y'all are now, you're alike. The things that attract us one to another. And the minute that changes, the attraction is gone, you know. And
Mm.
so we have to really think about that connecting factor. You're talking about loving somebody with my dirt, that what comes along with me, can you love what comes along with me, even if it's something that you don't understand, even if it's
Mm-hmm.
something that you don't agree with, even if it's something that you've never experienced. Do you need to do all of that in order to love me with what I come with, in my fullness? And you're talking about vetting a person, and I had to kind of laugh to myself because I think about my vetting process back then, years ago, versus now. Like I tell you the other night, we got a 90-day trial period, and we got an application and a pre-screen application. I need a fingerprint. I need a meeting with your mama. The vetting process is deep now because I can't do the okey doke and the tomfoolery no more.
Yeah.
But what I have come to really learn is that you don't know a person until you know a person.
Yeah.
On any level, we know as much of each other as today allows, and until we're in certain situations, you won't know the person, which is why it's important to be around them in all four seasons to
Mm-hmm.
see if not just for them to know you, but like can I handle you in your winter, like I
Yeah.
don't know, bro. You're listen, moving up to these mountains, I stay, the mountain winter is different from the city winter, so it's different levels of it,
Yeah.
and you really have to think like, do I may not be the right fit for you because I don't know that I have the love, or even as Bern was saying, it made me think of the capacity. Do I have the capacity
Capacity.
at this point to commit to loving you with your dirt, and vice versa, all the way through? Because once I make that commitment, if I don't have that capacity, I got to find it.
And that's where the honesty has to come in. Just
Right.
because you want to be with some for specific reasons, right? It's not even about settling, it's about the motive behind why you want to be with a particular individual, the motive behind the whole thing. Because listen, there have been times when, someone would see me and they see me, or they've seen me, or the Sheila Ingram person, right? The stage, the people, the lights, and all of that. And the attraction is supposed to be this real attraction, right? And we say we date, but then they get to know not Sheila the performer, but Sheila the person, right? And now they got two different lenses they looking through. The expectation of who they sized up in their mind that I was, right? It gets real blurred. The lines get very blurred, and then don't even allow me to even start talking about my dirt.
Right.
My dirt? You? It's one of those, not you.
Elaine always used to make a reference to me about um, people being attracted to me because of the anointing on my life.
Uh-huh.
And it's true. People get drawn to you because they know you in this one. If all you ever see me is in church on Sundays, those 52 days is not you're not seeing all of the what you're seeing is me flowing as God allows. But when that
Yes.
anointing wears off, it's like there's a person that you that's a piece of work that you got to get to know, because I'm not preaching all the time. you know
But
People
the
got to
anointing
know
is
you when you become human.
right.
Uh-huh.
That's the problem. It's like I don't, and then it becomes, then they like you said, they feel like you're a totally different person, or like you duped them, because it's like, no, I'm actually just this is me. Like, you're
Right.
attracted to what you see on Sunday, but Monday through Saturday, I don't know if you can handle that.
Yeah. What was you
That's
gonna
the
say,
thing.
Elaine?
I was gonna say, I always tell her that the anointing is doing what it's supposed to do, which is to bring people closer to God so you can destroy the yokes, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when the anointing ebbs off
When it lifts.
and Dawn, now you're Dawn that goes to work on Monday and deals with Dawn in your, in your job. So you
Yeah.
definitely have to, and that's for all of us, right? So you definitely have to have someone in your life that can say, well, and understand, well, that's the Dawn on Sundays that's flowing in the spirit, flowing under the anointing, flowing with the Holy Ghost. But she doesn't take all of that with her on Monday morning when she gets up and goes to work. So
Yeah.
that's why I think that the Bible always talks about being equally yoked, because it's not necessarily that you're saved and I'm saved, but that I understand how you are
Yes.
functioning under this flow and when
Yes.
you're not functioning under that flow. So,
Absolutely.
because it's vice versa, right? Too, because I feel like we're, all powerful women of God, but whoever you get involved with may not be in church, but might be a leader, and you will have to understand how they flow.
That
So it
is
has
so
to go
true.
both ways. It has to go with the
That
dirt,
with the
with the dirt,
dirt, with the
with the
dirt,
dirt.
because we all come with a level of some dirt, some dust, or something. It says that there are people who only love you because of something, and for such people, when you lose what you have, their love diminishes or disappears. But when something really loves you, or someone really loves you, I mean, he or she doesn't just love you. There's because of they love you in spite of. They love you. But again, if it's not tested, you don't know. Things just have to be tested. I know that there are women who, have a wonderful guy and he has this great job. He's corporate. He's making all this money. And then something happens to shift his position, right? And now she looks at him in a negative way because his status has changed, right? And things have shifted. And so now she becomes what? Not interested. He becomes like, oh, he ain't right. He lost his job. I can't deal with that type of dirt. I can't deal with the fact that, what's gonna happen, because again, it's the motive behind why we are with someone and how far we're gonna go. Because remember that part of the wedding vow where it says through sickness, right, and through health, and then say that following week Something happens to your mate, to your husband, that causes them to not be able to walk, or they wind up in the hospital the week after the wedding. But you made this statement because we get challenged with so many things in life. So now this wonderful, drop dead gorgeous man or female is now someone that's going to be a burden. This is a dirty situation. I didn't what? Sign up for this. Listen, Sandra Birthright says, but what was that love? Sir Hell says, very true. Can a woman truly love a man at his lowest? Most men will never receive unconditional love. This is the unspoken truth that most men understand. Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. Because we always say one thing and then life happens. And then all of a sudden the excuses come why I can't stay. Or he says, well, you could have never loved me. Well, no, I loved you. But what kind of love is that? Wait a minute now. So you can't nurture me back to health? Many women have lost out by a situation happening in their marriage or their relationship. And they think that that's going to be a long-term thing, and God moves and that person is back up again. That person is somewhere where they never were, on an empire, they owning stuff, they're moving greatly. And then they be like, oh, well, but no, no. How far are you going to go in terms of the commitment, right? And I know life happens. It's hard, but it's a decision. And if you make a decision to move on, it's something you got to live with. What you want to say?
Yeah, I just want to share. I'm going to be real transparent. Mom and Elaine know my story because they walked me through, they've been with me through this. But my last marriage, my husband and I, ex-husband and I, we had dated back in college. We met up again and we got back together and we dated for like 3 years and then we got married. And before we got married,
I'm on live, Cat. I'll call you. Okay?
He had lost his job.
Mm-hmm.
My pastor had asked me a question like, well, why don't y'all wait, until he gets back on his feet and whatnot? And my response was simply this: if I can't be there for you and with you now at your lowest, then I don't really need to be there later on when you get you don't kick a man when he's down. It's not like he wasn't working before, I could see if he wasn't working at all or whatnot, but life happens because like you said, it could be a week after or 2 weeks after the wedding or whatever it is. And life can happen. What are you going to do? Am I going to annul the marriage because he lost his job at that point? No. Like you said, we had a commitment. I went through this marriage with him for, I don't even know, like 2 years struggling, because I made that commitment that at your lowest, I was going to be there for you. I was going to be there with you. I tried to speak life. I tried to any and everything that I could do, I did. It's okay. I got you. It's just a moment, every possible thing. Whatever came with him, I dealt with because of the love that I had for him. Like Sir Hale was saying, most men will never receive unconditional love. Do you know, we went through a moment where this man cursed me out. He went far left. I had to look at the phone like, who is this person I'm talking to? Like, boy, did you forget who I am? Because the Bronx Dawn was getting ready to come out. But the God in me, God kept saying to me to remain in the posture. Remain in the posture. And that's what I did. And I went through this marriage this way for about 2 years. And when God finally released me and let me, there was stuff that I had, but it was my own fault because I shouldn't have been in the marriage to begin with. But I'm speaking to the point of that commitment, like you were saying, at the lowest point of a person's life. No, it wasn't easy. No, it wasn't fun. My husband and I, at the time, we never lived together. I was married and living apart the entire marriage, but I was committed to the commitment that I made. Like you said, one day, you don't know when that day is going to come when the person is going to get back on their feet and level up, and when we're talking about loving a person with their dirt, like I literally lived through that. And then when it was time to when it reached its capacity, and I was like, bro, I gotta go because now I don't have nothing for myself. Like I was
Mm,
draining myself, And so when we're loving the person with their dirt and through their dirt, you also have to again be mindful of your capacity and not drain and lose yourself in the midst of loving them with all that they come with. You know,
mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
it's the real truth. And it was hard for him to believe that I was really willing to stick with him through the worst point of his life, but I can't put something in you that you don't already have. I can only
Yeah.
encourage you for what you want to do. And if you don't want to go forward, I can't do it for you.
Yeah. And you said something very important. You said that you knew at this point that this was something you should not have been in, but being that you already, you made the decision to get in it, it was hard, it was friction, it was all of that because you were, like Elaine was saying, unequally yoked, right? In terms, it doesn't matter if you marry a believer. It's like a lot of times people, especially people in church, and this is what destroys, I don't want to destroy is a heavy word, but kind of derails a lot of men and women. It's better to marry than to burn. Well, you've been dating, and in Christianity you don't date for a long time. In Christianity, and so you have pressure in church, right? And it's okay, but the thing that I'm saying is, if you don't have the right voice in your ear, if you don't have the right leadership that's covering you, then they'll go strictly by not experience, they'll go by what they are expected to say to a woman or a man, which puts pressure on because you submit to your pastors, right? And you want to do the right thing. You want to do the right thing. And then you wind up getting married because, oh, you've been dating a year, and oh no, 2 years, and oh no, oh, you broke up with him and now you dating him. You wasn't supposed to do that. How did that happen? So it's all these different pressures that come on people, especially in the church. And there's so much divorce rate in the church because of the unequally yoked thing, and just because you're a Christian. But what about, I like the ice skate and you like baseball? What about the common things? What about, I like vanilla, you like pistachio? What about, I'm saying, I like boat rides, but you don't go on the boat. You like planes. What about, you don't even like planes and we can't take no trips? What, I mean, what's going on here? So it's just going to be the Jesus thing 24/7. That's not enough to hold two human beings together. I'm sorry. There has to be a common ground. There has to be common likeness. I'm a Sagittarius, you a Virgo. I mean, we got all these different things going on.
I'm
But the
about to
point,
pass the offering plate. Go ahead. You preaching today.
it's sad
I got
because
the
what,
juice to tell. I got the juice to tell.
listen, it's sad because what it does is it causes you now to be divorced and married. I mean, married and divorced, number one. Then you might find somebody else. And if you don't know God for yourself, and if you don't, at some point use you to figure out what's going on with you. Or you better not get married, or you get a divorce. Guess what? Listen, I went through that. God's not going to bless your ministry, Sheila. Minister Sheila, you get a divorce, God's going to shut down everything. You're not going to go to the nations. They said this to me. You will not go to the nations. God is not pleased. Your ministry is going to be over. I said, what God do you serve? What God do you serve?
That's the one
That's
with the
not the
little
God.
G.
That's the little G.
That's the little G.
That's not the God I serve. But when you come and buck up against uh, the body, and you're a leader, it's bad. It's bad. It's so bad that what you go through, and the wrong advice, and not to mention you're in a church and you can't even go talk to a leader because they talk too much, and you can't trust them with the secrets of your heart, and you got to go outside of your church. Find someone. It's just all of these things. Your dirt becomes even in the church.
And it's so
Church dirt.
traditional today. They don't know how to deal with the the members where they are. They want to go back and pull up tradition. I mean, my mother is constantly saying, in my day,
In my
And I'm
day.
like, yes, we know before there were TVs, before in your day. But at the same time, I mean, you you cannot tell. It's almost like saying to someone that you want to help in ministry and you want them to come to church and you want them, but they're starving. They don't know how they're going to feed their children. They're not hearing anything you're saying because they're worried about
Yeah.
where their next meal is going to come from. So
Yeah.
it's almost like, you know, if you're dealing in dirt and you need some type of leadership, some direction, but you cannot, as a leader, see where your people are, you're not saying anything that's going to be useful for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so. This topic is so true and so powerful because we all have stuff. We all have dirt. I don't care
Yeah.
how old you are. If you're living and you're experiencing life, you have dirt. But Pastor Rosa and all three of you have mentioned that it's the capacity of, can you handle my dirt? Can you? Because if you're gonna, then here's another one. You get with someone and you're sharing. This is on both sides of the fence. A man is, and it takes a lot for a man to expose himself emotionally. And women, oh my God, they so shallow, in not all women, and using something a man shared as a get back in an argument. You bring it up. That is the worst thing. Well, I know that's the worst thing you can do to Sheila. If I trust you with something, that's like Jesus himself got to talk to me about forgiving that. Because if I trust you with me,
Yeah.
and I share with you deepness, and especially if it's something that I never told anyone. Oh, and I'm sharing with you. Do you know how privileged you are to get this secret? And then you try to use that for some tit for tat type of situation. That's a problem. And see, these are the things that break down trust. These are the things that yeah, I trust you with your dirt. Yeah, that's what you say now. But then that goes to what you said. You don't know anybody until a circumstance comes about. Even in friendship, they say, "Oh, she's my best friend." Why you say that? Have you gone through something to prove the friendship? Have you gone through something where the ride or die had to happen, or was it just been a blissful type of moment? You don't know people and know situations until it's tested. Until it's tested, you don't know the authentic part of it until something happens. So this dirt situation here, it says here that they just love you because of your successes and strengths, but they also love you in spite of failures and frailties you may have. It doesn't mean love is blind. It means love sees beyond one's dirt. So what is love? Everybody love the way they call love. Pastor Rosa, what do you think?
Well, my my view honestly is I've found who I am in God. Again, it's not a religious ethic or whatever, it's just true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I found myself in God. I know who I am. I know I'm not what I've done. I know I'm not who other people may see me as. I know who I am in God. And that that being the case, um, if I had to do my life over again, um, I think I'd probably wait until now to get married. And probably, huh? And
that's a
probably
that's a good one.
somebody else's child, you know. Um, but to me, love is, again, that I see who you are. I see what you've done, because I've already looked at myself now and I know that I'm not perfect. So I'm looking at you and I know that you're not perfect. But I know that there's someone in here, separate for I can see you aside from what you did. That
Yes.
to me is love. When I can accept you standing before me, knowing that you have 3 or 4 kids out there, that was then. That's what you went through then. When Dawn's dad and I, when the divorce was final, the first thing I said to God in the middle of the floor, not really knowing at that time that we don't find the men. And see, this is one of the things the ladies gotta get that. We don't find we don't put on Ann Taylor and whoever and all the other designer stuff, and we go out and we find the guy. No, that's not the way the Bible teaches it. That the man that findeth the wife findeth a good thing. We prepare.
Yes.
We prepare, to be found. It's not to say that we don't have a choice in that decision. I believe that God already has that person, and he puts us in a place where we find each other,
Mhm.
and so you prepare, you prepare for that. You
That's
make your
good.
mistakes, and by the time
That's good.
you're found by, like Ruth was found by Boaz, and by the time you've been through something,
Yes.
and so now you're prepared for your Boaz. Your experiences prepare you for Boaz. So when he makes a mistake, it's not the end of the world.
Mhm.
He's human. You're seeing him through the human factor. And I mean, that's
Mhm.
just where I'm at right now. That's
That's
just,
good.
like, God is just so real to me at this point.
Mhm.
He brought me through fear, um, and I know he can bring me through through anything. Grace is going to take you through those little stupid things that we go through. And
Yeah.
one of the questions that I ask when I'm doing marital counseling is, what's more important, the argument or the relationship?
Mm.
Which one is more important? Are you more concerned about the relationship that you have, or
Mhm.
who's wrong? I said I was sorry when I was married to Dawn's father. I said I was sorry for everything. It wasn't my fault, but I said I'm sorry. I apologize. You know why? Because I wanted peace. He wasn't gonna say he was sorry. That
Yeah.
he didn't think he did anything. It was okay. I just wanted peace.
Yeah.
This this is love. This is what that
Absolutely.
sacrifice.
Yeah, because we're the divine part and to a man. It's a divine, and we're like the paraclete, right? The Holy Spirit. We're brought from the man. We're called to be alongside, right? Like the Holy Spirit is called to be alongside of us, the paraclete. So it refers to women. That's why God took so much time with women, and women throughout time have reduced their value. Their value has been reduced, right? Not understanding who they are and why they were born. And it's a divine connection to a man, not necessarily to I'm not under his. No, it has nothing to do with total submission. It's what you're called to, and it's a divine appointment to a man. Hi, Sir Hale.
Hey there, how are you?
Hi, sounds like you're driving.
Yes, I am. I'm almost at my studio, but I love this conversation and I wanted to be a part of it.
Yes, jump in.
Well, I was hearing what you guys are saying. If it gets too loud, please let me know. But I want to pose a question, and this is from my many years of living. Um, Bravo, do you believe that people are capable of truly loving if they've never been broken?
Mm. If they've never been broken.
Yes, if they've never been broken or of gone through something in life that made them realize the value of love. Um, I think that most people don't love because we have an Americanized perspective of what love looks like. So it's what you can buy, it's what you can do, is how
Mm.
you feel. And I think about people who are in different countries who don't have access to airplanes and access to exquisite dinners, but their love is strong even in illness and mental
Mhm.
health and concerns and war. and they're able to sustain a relationship that's very deep. And the marriage rates are higher with people who have lesser. And so my
That's true.
my concern or my question is, do you believe that people are truly capable of loving without having being broken and understanding the necessity of love?
That's a good question because that's a good point as well. From traveling around the world and being in people's homes and different cultures, a lot of times when I travel, I'm not always in a hotel. I am in homes with families and I see what they don't have, but I see the bond that is unspeakable, the love that I'd never seen myself, and they have less. And their their mindset is different, their thought pattern is different, the way we weigh things. And they talk about Americans, they talk about people from the US, how we are shallow people in terms of our goal, and our outlook is everything about materialistic things and what you have and don't have, and that's what we call love. In terms of someone being broken, I just believe that, brokenness brings something out of you that we're a marital bliss doesn't, right? I think life experience, in terms of what we've gone through, in terms of our individual brokenness or experiences, creates something innate in us that we could either go either or. I believe love can be so beautiful based on what you've allowed to come inside of you and what you've allowed to come out of you. But that's such a good point, Sir Hale, because the love that I've seen throughout the world is matches nothing that I've seen here in the US. And these people, especially in Africa, where they have barely shoes on their feet, they grind together, their love, their bond, everything is for family. And the person, they take care of them, they feed, they cook. And so it's deep because, again, we're talking about dirt. Now, what would an American person, sister, whatever, think about going to these countries and see these dirt for not having certain things? So I don't know. I want to see what the other ladies feel about this.
Um, I think we love better after being broken. I really think so because you've gone beyond the fantasy and the
Mm-hmm.
and the daydreaming and as Elaine said, the butterflies and all that. You've gone beyond that, and you have that taste of reality. And I think you love better after
Mm-hmm.
being broken. I do.
Personally, I have been in relationships, and because of the lack of success of it or whatever, my understanding of love is deeper because I've been through something, because it's not going to be pretty all the time. And that's when it's tested. When you think it's one thing and then it winds up being something else, it's tested to see what my real motive was with that person. What do you think, Elaine?
I agree with Pastor Rosa that I think you love better, and I also think we are broken because everybody goes through something at different stages in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're 18 and something traumatic happens in your life, it's going to probably affect your outlook on love, relationships for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
If I'll just use my one of my friends as an example, who got married in her 40s, and no like you said, no sooner than they were married and her husband started dealing with panic attacks. He lost his job. She was in school. He would just show up at her classroom and stand in the door. He no longer wanted to drive for fear of having a panic attack while he was driving. Financial issues, all within the first year and a half of their marriage.
Mm.
And she was very bitter. And I remember a conversation when another friend said, "Well, do you no longer love him?" And she said, "Of course I love him." And we were like, "But it doesn't come across that you love him now.
Mm.
But you also went through something." She felt like she didn't wait all those years to get married and go through all of these things.
Yeah.
But you also went through things that most people go through later down the line, and you've gotten it out of the way. Now you know how the two of you will operate together, how you will depend upon one another, how you will rely upon one another.
Mm-hmm.
So, probably totally different than if she had gone through something as traumatic at 18 as opposed to in her 40s.
Mm-hmm.
So, I
Then
think it has a lot to do with where you are in your life. What was the thing that broke you? Did you heal from it? Do you have the capacity now to love again? Because once it happened, you may never love again, for
mm-hmm.
some people. So I think it has a lot to do with the individual, what they went through, how they got through it, what's on
Mm-hmm.
the other side.
That's so true. You brought something right up in my heart and my spirit. I was 17 and married 4 months, and my husband was murdered the day my daughter was born, my second daughter. And when you just said that, it kind of just sparked that back up because it affected me and how I continue to love for years because of that broke and that breach, and that it did something on the inside, right? And it caused me to be very, not bitter, but I don't know what the word is. That experience, I was so young. Come on, I shouldn't that was, my brain had not even fully developed at 17 or 18. And
Right.
so when you just said that about your friend, so I was young when it happened, and so my story, was years after that. And that's so true. It depends on the experience, but brokenness brings humility. Brokenness brings understanding, because when life happens, you have to be able to navigate through it. Sir Hale, are you still there?
Oh, very much so. Very much still here.
Let's see what M. Mills says. M. Mills says, "Hi, M. Mills, the Bravad. Thanks for being here. They probably can't have the selfless love if you've never have been broken or have done without." And then she says, "You become more appreciative of love and those who love you when you have been through some things." That is so true. And I'm going to put this up because Sir Hell put this up for us. You all have beautiful smiles. Thank you. Sir Hale.
Yeah. So can I add to this? So
Yeah.
if when I look at the scripture on love, and I think it's First Corinthians 5. Somebody please let me know if I'm 13 rather. And it talks about love. Nothing about love is pretty. Like if you really look at that, like love is for people who are being ugly, ugly. You know what I mean? Like it is made for the worst. And I think that because love is marketed as butterfly feelings and moments of opulence and beauty and romance and oh girl, he's so in love with you. I think because it's marketed that way, a lot of people don't have the real definition of love. Love is love is spectacular when it's in motion, but what makes love come into motion comes from ugly stuff. Like if you
Mm.
for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, like the action of love is beautiful, but what he had to go through to show that love was ugly.
Mhm.
And I believe that in relationships and in marriage, the action of love lets me know that you care about me, and that is beautiful. But love is for people who are in dark situations. Love is for people who need that. Love is for people who are broken. And the power of love is necessary because it does something that other stuff just can't do. And that's why I posed a question: can people really love if they haven't been broken? Because what I've
Mhm.
learned, people who've never been through stuff will squander what they have. Like much like the
Mm.
product, he didn't live life, and as soon as he got some stuff, what did he do? He just wasted it. And I've noticed that people who've gone through brokenness to some degree, they appreciate stuff because they know what loss feels like.
Oh
And
yeah.
and what I've seen with a lot of, and this is just, I could be wrong, but a lot of women and even men who have always had it well, they've never really gotten their heart broken and had to recover. They take real love for granted until they lose that love, and then they go back out into the streets and think they're gonna find it again, and realize that you lost something that's just not easy to be replaced. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And
It's
that's
so
a
true.
people. Yeah, so that's why I posed that question. And
Mhm.
I don't think that most people are capable of loving until they got a heartbreak or unless they've grown up in a family structure where they saw love in motion, like caring for their elders, right? Or they saw mom and dad like really loving each other through difficult times. I
Mm-hmm.
just think most people have no idea what real love let me tell you what I know love is. Like love is like, let's say you got a spouse or a parent or somebody who's in the hospital, and you're used to seeing them operating full strength, but now you got to feed them, or you got to wipe that mouth out because now slob is coming out, or you got to go
Mm-hmm.
visit them and take the trash out. Like, this is why I
Mm-hmm.
spend so much love for people who take care of people who have disabilities. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
love. It's
Mm-hmm.
difficult, going through difficult stuff.
Yeah.
And I think most people are not built for that real love. Most people only have the love when things are going well, or they're
Mm-hmm.
married and the sex is hot and it is steaming. Oh, we
Mm-hmm.
in love. No, you ain't that love. That's like love is
Yeah.
when you guys are going through difficult times. Somebody that gained some weight, or somebody got a diagnosis that's unfavorable, or somebody's
Yeah.
stressed out and things are changing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. That's
I
so
I, I talk.
true. No, that is so true, and again, here you strike up something because I have taken care of someone that I was with for over 12 years that was up, moving around, doing everything well, smart. I don't want to, reveal their name or anything, but they had an asthma attack and they died for 4 minutes right in front of me. I mean, I've got this thing. The enemy always be chasing me with things, right? And they died right in front of me for 3.5 minutes, right? And my backflash was, oh, here it is happening again. It's happening again to me. Here we go. So that does, the experience of life, to recover from traumatic things like that. So my decision was, and this person could not walk, they couldn't use their hands, and then they became blind. And I stayed there for 12 years, day and night, going outside, going in men's bathrooms because they couldn't unbuckle their pants. I feeding them in public. And I mean, so when you said that, that just kind of, that type of love, see, people don't understand that's a type of love when you lay down your life for another, right? It wasn't a mushy kind of love. It wasn't the type of love I was thinking, we couldn't go in the restaurant and wine and it was commitment, and it was hard, right? And so when you said that, that's a whole nother level of love because I laid my life down that I could have put 12 years into my music career. I could have did a few things with those 12 years, right? But here's the thing. Am I angry that I did that? Right? Because remember earlier we were talking about the capacity, and when you come out of something, am I going to harbor that as I lost 12 years of my life and da 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 da, that whole thing. Love, and I love the fact that you brought that up, Sir Hell, because love is ugly. It can be because you don't know what's coming at you. You just don't know. That makes sense what I said to you guys?
So do you think that will have an impact on your next relationship?
I
Do you
don't
think?
know. Yeah, that's a good question, sis, because that hasn't happened yet, and I've tried to make my keep my heart clear. Right? That's the main thing. When you can manage your heart, when you can pay attention to your heart to not harbor stuff, right? Because sometimes you can go through something and be, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. And all the time you have these different pockets inside of your heart that you don't know is there until you get into a situation like what you're talking about. What will happen next for me? I don't know. I think that I know that I'm not bitter. I feel that I did what I made the decision to do for this person, right? And I don't regret the years, but I have thought about where I would have been or what I would have done with those 12 years. How could I not think of that? Right? That's natural and normal
Right.
for me to think that. Yeah. So that type of love, that's love.
Yeah.
Bravo. I just
That's
want to may God, like, I mean this from my heart, from all the way down here from the great state of Texas to where you were out there in the Bronx, New York. Let me say this to you. I pray that God blesses your life for what you did. I pray that
Amen.
He makes an example out of you for your heart and for your. Listen, I hope God just blows your socks because people need to see that when you sow in love, you're gonna reap that. You're going to reap that back, and to have that heart, I pray that God does something so amazing that it makes
Amen.
you sown seem, like it was all worth it. Thank you for that,
Amen.
for sharing that,
Amen. Yeah,
because
I've
that
never really said that publicly, but hey, I'm okay with it.
I just want to jump in for a second.
I appreciate that, Sir Hale. I really do. I appreciate that.
and when that $1 million check come in, this I,
I'll be at one generation tied to you. Sunday morning, 9 o'clock Central Time. I'll be on One Generation YouTube. I'll just send it right through. Let's see, Kathy. Let's see. And then I'm gonna let you go, co-host.
Mhm.
This is great, great stuff. That love can make you or break you. God has to be in control. Amen. Amen. And then Ine, the Bravette, she right there. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7. She says, co-host, you got it.
Yes, ma'am. Sir Hale brought up a really good question about can you love without having been broken, and it just made me think that that there are depths to love. There's surface love versus the depth of love. And adversity will always bring us together. Usually it brings us together more often than not. And then there's struggle love, which is a whole different animal within itself. Just depending on what the struggle is. And you have that struggle of versus are we building in love. But um I think that I feel like it's possible to love without being broken. You have to love has to be present ahead of time. It has to be there. Um, and you have to love before you're broken, because the breaking that happens oftentimes causes us, and I'm trying to word it correctly the way I want to get it out.
Hmm.
Breaking that happens causes us, it brings forth the acknowledgement of the love that we have. Sometimes we don't realize that what we're doing is love, or the way we're expressing that is the love. So it has to be there before the breaking, because that's what makes us realize the value of what we had, the cost of what we lost, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's what we do after that. After that breaking is what you do, because some people experience that breaking and go the complete opposite way. They still take for granted what they lost. They still don't understand the depth and value of
Mm-hmm.
the person that was loving them, or the
Mm-hmm.
love that was shown to them. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like love has to be present, and it should be present, and usually is present, because that's what causes us to recognize what
Mm-hmm.
I lost in this, you know. And Elaine brought up a good question to you, about your next relationship, and I think that with all of us, we don't know what we're gonna be like. Like we I don't go into my next relationship looking to love the way I did in my last relationship. And I realize that there are some traumas or triggers that I take with me based on
Mm-hmm.
my experience. But when those things come up in my relationship, I find that I've committed myself in my next relationship when that happens, that um, I'm determined to walk out my trauma in the
Mm-hmm.
relationship, as opposed to running the other way because I'm saying I can't handle it. If I
Mm-hmm.
don't, I will never get over it, to that place, because I feel like we deserve, you have to get to the place where you say, I deserve to be loved. I deserve
Mm-hmm.
to be loved this way. And what
Yeah.
happened to me cannot be greater than what is ahead of me, what's going to happen to me.
Mm.
So I just wanted to share that.
That's healthy. That's good, because what in essence you're saying too, and when Elaine asked that, there was a twitch inside of me, right? That's like, because there's a honesty that I walk in, right? There's a reality check that when usually someone doesn't ask me something that, because I'm always the one, the counselor, you
Yeah.
know, giving it out, right? And so people don't really get the opportunity, or they don't think they have the nerve to say certain things to me too, because they don't qualify to sometimes, right?
Say
But
so.
but when it is posed, right, I don't run from it. And that's a good question, because what you just said too is like, you have to break yourself down on the inside of the very thing that could corrupt or block you from living a happy life. So that means you have to really accept the breakdown. Like, with Sheila, the trust factor, right? Because once you go through, I've been through 3 deaths in a relationship back to back. 3, right? So how do you navigate, starting at the age of 17, 18, that started happening to me. And there's a couple of people here, Kathy knows, Sandra knows my story. So that affects you. And so if you don't have someone to help manage, right? Because a counselor need a counselor, a therapist need a therapist, a friend need a friend. You can't do this thing by yourself, right?
Right.
But it
Right.
has to be someone who can give you sound stuff, like not no little, because my stuff ain't no Mickey Mouse stuff. There's some deep, there's some deep stuff here.
The
I need
real
some,
deal.
yeah, this the real deal. Like, so I need some substance, something. And plus I'm very analytical, right? So because if you say something to me, I'm like, right, which is not always good. But that is so powerful, what you're saying and how you brought that out. What would happen going forward? How would we do, any of us, how would we handle what we're going to be dealing with? I mean, who knows? It may not ever be anybody going forward. It may be, but he says he gives us the desires of our hearts according to the will that, where we are right now. Let thy will be done, right?
Right.
But I just think that, talking about this is good. Like I said, I've never said what I said earlier. I have never uttered that out of my mouth publicly.
But it,
I,
it's probably a good thing, to make you just, because some things trigger us, and some. I mean, obviously, you're not triggered because you move through it with such grace. But I have a girlfriend who went through it. Her fiance passed away, and I feared for a long time that she would never
Mhm.
get past that, never open up her heart again, never. And then she met someone and he had some physical limitations, and she went through the whole back and forth of, I've already done this and I don't want to do it again.
mm, whew, that thought.
And that was what, I think that was the reason why I asked you that question, because she went through that. And I mean, she's still dating him, but she's
Whew.
very clear about how much of a role she wants to play in his life.
Ooh, girl, girl, girl. Listen, that thought, that because once you experience that on that level, you won't really ponder on that if it hasn't happened to you, right? It's
Right.
just a possibility. That's when we say, oh, it's a possibility. But when that knocks on your door and it becomes a part of your life, right? And and you didn't sign up for that. There goes that little term.
Whew.
And then what you just said, like, how does that's the part B of what you was asking me. How would I navigate out of my own head that that might happen again? I'm not going to do that again. I can't do that again. Life happens. I'd rather just be alone. I don't know. Especially when you get older, because when you get older, there are more ailments. There are more
Right.
things that that's possible, right? Even though it can happen when you're younger, but that is such a that's a serious thing.
Yeah.
That's a serious thing.
Yeah.
I
So,
remember I was 25, I think, or 23, and the young man that I was dating, he was shot and killed. And that was a very traumatic time because I was the last person he talked to. And,
Mm,
we had a thing about, calling each other when we got home, but he was going out or whatever. And when I called him the next day, because I hadn't heard from him, make sure he got home okay. And his mother answered the phone and she talked to me just as calmly and whatever, like nothing happened. And I asked her to speak to him, and she said, "I'm sorry, but Reggie was killed last night." And I think I lost it. Like I went numb. My mother. I don't really remember what happened, but I remember my mindset after that, going through that trauma, like you're speaking about. You don't know what you're going to do until you're faced with it. And I remember feeling like I didn't want to date. I didn't want to get to know anybody. I didn't want to, because I didn't want to do this again. I didn't want, and I was like, out of everybody, all of my friends, I was like, everybody, it's always going to happen to me. It's only going to be me, So you start and I started feeling like I was damaged goods, and I really would tell. I remember another guy was trying to talk to me. And I was like, "Bro, listen, you don't want this over here, okay?" And I really was like serious.
Yeah,
I get it. And I was just like, because I felt like whatever it was attached to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It made me want to block everyone from trying to love me and getting close and allowing myself that love. And I remember it took me a good 6 years to probably walk through that. To, like you said about your mindset, and the thoughts. And when you get to it, just when you said it, it made me think back. Sometimes I forget now, and it's been some 20 odd years, but
as soon as we talk about it, it comes up.
Right. But I just remember that journey, and then getting to the place where you are able to accept being loved again, getting over that fear of this happening to you again.
Heavy.
It might happen and it might not. But if it does happen again, I looked at it as I went through it and I survived it.
Yeah.
So you have to, you got to take those techniques with you, and you're thinking about, is loving again worth that risk?
Exactly. Well, we want to thank Sir Hale. He dropped off. He was on his way to the studio. We want to thank Sir Hale for once again gracing us and giving such great input. Bravo to Sir Hale. I'm gonna get my machine. I already looked it up. I'm gonna get it. You're gonna see one day. You're gonna be like, she got it. Yep, I did. Yep, I did. We're getting ready to wrap this conversation up, this chat. I love it. Pastor Rosa, please, just before we get last words, I feel you want to say something.
Mm-hmm. I am ready to date. I don't want to go through either situation I went through before. I learned whatever I was supposed to learn. I applied to ministry. Listen, my first husband was an atheist. My second husband was a veteran drug addict. Seriously. I'm not, no.
Yeah.
I learned what I was supposed to learn for both of those things, seriously. And I do want to save man. Yes, I do. I've never had that experience where we pray together. I want that security. I want that sanctity. I want that spiritual security. I want someone to pray for me. I think I've gotten over all of the anger, the bitterness, the resentment. I don't say why me. I know why me. I made that decision. I'm not blindsided as I was then. And I don't know if I'm ready to get married again, but it is a thought, because I'm not going to date unless it's something.
Exactly.
But I've learned, and I at this point I have no regrets. I really don't, because I've learned from it.
You said lesson learned, and that's all we could walk away with is the lesson learned. Take the jewels, leave the junk. Lesson learned. This conversation about my dirt, your dirt, his dirt have been something about the dirty folk. Dirty, 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 dirty. This has been something, I tell you. Come on, jump in here, Elaine, and give us last words or whatever. I'm gonna keep. We got to the co-host. We got to keep Elaine and Rose on the panel. We have to keep them on. We have to, we got us a little crew. Yeah, they stir it up with us. They be stirring it up.
But Mama Rosa, for week 2 now, she has just shocked me to my core. Oh my gosh. It's like
She's
my
so
mom when I
she's
if I
funny.
go to
She's
the
sweet.
store and I say to my mom, can I bring you back anything? Do you need anything? Yes. Let him be 6 feet tall, dark, and I'm like, this is not customer service.
Well, you asked.
I
Yeah,
know.
right.
That'll teach me not
Exactly.
to. That'll teach me not to ask anymore. But I
Amen.
think I've enjoyed this conversation because we've all got a little something with us. We've been through it. We're gonna. If we haven't, we will. And
Yes.
it does affect how you get to the next part in a relationship, how you connect with people, how you come out of it. It does impact how you move through a relationship. The relationship I'm in now, Dawn will tell you, I learned a lot about myself these last few years
Mm,
because I've always had to be, or always was, that strong one that was just not going to tolerate any nonsense, no
mm,
grace for the other person, no, even though God shows us grace every minute of every day. Um, but I think with the dirt, you have to make the commitment.
mm.
Once you make the commitment, like Dawn says, you're in it until you just until Jesus tells you, or like I used to say, God's gonna have to slay me in the spirit, and when I wake up, He's gonna have to tell me about myself. So I think you have to make the commitment that you're going to be in it for the long haul with this person. And then, even in that, you have to decide, is it damaging to you, to your health, to your mental state? How much of it can you take? How much do you have the capacity for, like we said? And then you can make sound decisions. I mean, I don't think the decisions you make today have to stay with you for the rest of your life.
Mm,
The world is always changing. Our lives are always changing. You make
mm.
decisions based on what's good for you at the moment.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. That's really, really good. That's really, really good. Co-host Dawn B.
Yes, ma'am. Um, my final comments. So many, but I was like Miss Rose is a, I don't know. She ain't married nobody but Jesus. That's what I know. That's been her date for the last I don't know how many years. So that's I believe that there. And Elaine,
Oh,
I'm
Maybe
so
he gives her butterflies. Jesus
so,
gives her butterflies.
Jesus gives her
Jesus gives her
butterflies.
butterflies.
He gives her listen, he gives her heart eyes. She writes his name on her notebook, all of that. She
Oh
shares her
God.
lunch money with him, all that good stuff. No, but for real, my closing remarks is simply this: do you love me with my dirt? And I respond with a post that I actually put up today. It's funny. It says, "Love says I've seen the ugly parts of you, and I'm staying." And that is what that's what I give, and that is for me what I am looking to hear and receive. But I'm willing to give it first,
Hmm.
and just know that in the dirt, just take the time to walk it out. You know,
Yeah.
you got to walk it out, and you'll know when it's worth it. It's not gonna be pretty, but you'll know when it's worth it.
Wow. This has been something. I tell you, this has been something. It was kind of, a little counseling session on the side and a little, admitting things and confessions and and God moves in whatever space that we're in because we belong to him, right? And where we are, the spirit of the Lord is always right here with us, And that's why I love talking to women. I always say when we have 4 women, 2 women, 8 women, 100 women in the room, you have power. You have power because we are powerful. And we're so divine how God took so much time to create us and to knit us, in the womb of our mother. We were knitted in that secret place. He said he was right there in the secret place. He was right there. And so, because we are fearfully and wonderfully made, we can always end up on this right side of the road as we continue to work on ourselves, as we continue to do the work and to not be in denial, because I believe that denial can choke the life out of you. And so I had to be very careful in how I answered Elaine's question because I could have denied what I felt when she said it, right? But I'm not about image. I'm about truth. And you never know where that breakthrough is going to happen. Doesn't matter if it happens on a public platform or in a quiet prayer time. It's about going to that next place in your inner man. And I think that I did. And I think that we all did in terms of understanding about dirt. What do we do with it? Do we accept it? But out the gate, do we say yes or no to it, and don't string somebody along, right? And then say, no, well, I told you that I was like that. Yeah, well, I can't handle. No, no. What is the motive behind everything we do as a woman? What do you want? Where are you headed, right? And so I think tonight was awesome. It was powerful. Oh my God, I enjoyed this so much. And I know it's a bravo to all of our guests, everyone in the chat, everyone on Facebook, everyone on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here once again on Bravo with Sheila. And I took away the ladies. You might say, what happened to ladies? Let's chat. I did that because I was sitting with the Lord, and I want to open up Bravo with other topics. I want to open up this platform for speaking on different topics and to different people. Will we still keep our niche with women? Of course, because that's who I'm called to, right? I'm called to people in general, but I was in prayer, and then I just felt that still small voice, and I called my daughter. I said, I think I'm blocking some things because I'm just locked into one thing. Ladies, let's chat, when it should be let's chat, right? And let anybody come into this space and get to be moved from pain to power and from power to victory. So all of you wonderful people out there, I thank you so very much for being here. You are awesome. You are wonderful. And stay tuned. We're supposed to be here on Thursday, but I think I'm going to be doing something on Thursday that I'd like to do. And so I think I'm going to not be here on Thursday, but we'll be here next Tuesday. We'll be back. The holiday season is coming. Come on, clean up your soul. Clean up your soul. Let God just brush through your soul so that the King can stand up tall in you. That soul can rock you. But if you let God clean it up, then the soul and the spirit can kind of work together. But sometimes we just let the soul just keep jacking us up. That soul got to be cleaned up. And so that's what we need to do every day, just be focusing on how I can be better. Remember that when nothing changes, nothing changes. And so we're going to do this intro, this outro. Ladies, don't move. Listen, guys, remember to keep it moving. And again, when nothing changes, nothing changes. You can tune in to the SIM broadcast early in the morning. Sometimes it's 6 a.m., most times it's 6 a.m. And right now we're in the book of 2 Kings, and we're talking about the prophetic nuggets that's inside of the Bible. I love the prophetic. I love the move of the prophetic. And so we've been talking every morning about progressive revelation on Word Thirst. So anyway, you can join us early in the morning or whenever I pop on. But once again, thank you for being here. See you again soon. Co-host, you are the bomb. And I was going to say you the bomb diggity, but my daughter like, Ma, that's so old. Like, don't say that.
You could say it. You could
I can
say
say
it.
you the bomb diggity.
I love you, Auntie.
Elaine, I love you so much. I love your spirit. You are so special.
And
And
thank you for having me again.
you gonna be back. You'll be back. You'll be back. We done adopted you. We done adopt. You're adopted officially. If I have to send the certification papers and email that you are officially adopted, I will do what I have to do. And
I will
mother,
answer.
all right. Thank you so much. And Pastor Rosa, Mother Rosa, Miss Rosa, Lady Rosa, you are a jewel. You are hilarious. And I don't know why they try to shut you down sometimes, because your daughter Dawn got that gene in her. That gene she had straight from you. So you guys can actually moonlight and go on stage and have a whole comedy show. You really can. I mean, just flat foot, no script, just talk. That's You can do that. You can get a few coins on the side, another stream of income. Anyway, guys, I love you
Okay.
tonight. God bless you, ladies. Don't move. Let's just close this show with what kind of outro? Let's do a soft outro. Here we go.